Walmart, the retail giant, plans to close 3 of its US-based technology stores, asking hundreds of workers to relocate while retaining their jobs.
A retail giant is closing stores. Walmart plans to shut down 269 stores. 154 of them will be in the U.S.
Walmart has announced a new round of store closures, including one of the largest locations on Chicago's South Side.
The initial shock hit with scant notice. A massive wave of tariffs slammed into the U.S. retail landscape, unleashing a cascade of consequences that blindsided even the industry giants. Walmart, synonymous with its vow of low prices, made a jaw-dropping pivot. Rather than swallowing the rising costs, it pulled segments of its supply chain out of the U.S. market. A clear sign that bargain prices were no longer a given. Overnight, prices spiked, pinching household budgets already battered by inflation. The company urged calm, but its warning only deepened the spreading unease. Soon, another fracture emerged in the bedrock of American retail. Target, a beacon of reliability, found itself ensnared in the same turmoil. If the biggest names were teetering, what did this spell for the nation? Let's dive in. It started with routine shopping trips that felt anything but routine. Consumers, accustomed to predictable prices, were floored by sudden hikes. A $9 pack of beef now cost nearly $14. $0. Lettuce jumped 30%. Breakfast cereal, a kitchen staple, tacked on an extra $2. The comforting certainty of stocked grocery aisles across America evaporated. The fallout wasn't confined to the U.S. Tariffs ignited a global chain reaction, reverberating through Asia, Africa, and Europe. Shipments of rice, cooking oil, and canned goods stalled. In Southeast Asia, shelves once lined with American imports stood empty. In Nairobi and Manila, soaring food prices crushed families already scraping by. The spark for this chaos? A White House decision. President Trump's sharp rebuke of Walmart, accusing it of abandoning American workers, sent shockwaves far beyond U.S. homes. Walmart's iconic "everyday low prices" slogan became untenable. Tariffs obliterated the math behind it, leaving the company's finances bruised. By Q2 2025, losses were pegged at $25 billion. Those costs landed squarely on families struggling to afford essentials. By June, Walmart's woes intensified. 10 key distribution centers shuttered temporarily, leaving over 50,000 workers in limbo. The company's vaunted just-in-time delivery system, once a marvel for keeping shelves stocked, now gasped for air. Executives pinned the blame on tariffs, calling them economic bombs lobbed at supply chains. What began as a political gambit morphed into a retail catastrophe. Wall Street felt the tremors within days. Rising prices at Walmart, shuttered distribution hubs, and spreading panic rattled investors. Fears mounted that the disruption wouldn't stop at groceries. Electronics firms, apparel retailers, and toy makers all leaned on Walmart's massive buying power to keep costs in check. Now, those deals were fraying. Logistics costs spiraled. Contracts were rewritten weekly, and global trade veered into uncharted waters. Analysts warned that without action from Washington, the U.S. faced the worst retail collapse in modern history, timed disastrously with the holiday shopping rush. The crisis traced back to April 2, 2025. In the White House Rose Garden, Trump signed Executive Order 14,257, dubbed the Liberation Day Tariffs. Aimed at pressuring China, it instead tore through global retail. Walmart's partial retreat from the U.S. market was just the start. Target, Costco, and Home Depot followed, scrambling for suppliers in Vietnam and India. This triggered the most seismic overhaul of global supply chains in decades. Tariffs meant to curb Beijing's trade dominance instead hastened its replacement, with American consumers footing the bill. The impact was immediate. By April 5th, nearly all U.S. imports faced a 10% tariff, sparing only Canada and Mexico. On April 9th, retaliatory tariffs hit 60 nations, with China facing rates as high as 145%. The fallout was swift. A major Chinese toy supplier for Walmart slashed output by 70%. The U.S. Toy Association sounded alarms, warning that half its members risked bankruptcy. Shipping costs from Shenzhen to Long Beach tripled, and delays mounted. Europe wasn't spared. Empty shelves appeared before goods even reached stores. At U.S. ports, containers piled up, abandoned by importers unable to pay new duties. Some cargo rotted in limbo. Walmart's warehouses became tombs for unclaimed goods. The critical holiday season, typically an economic boon, now loomed as a specter of bare shelves. On May 2nd, the crisis escalated. Trump threatened a 50% tariff on European imports unless the EU complied. European markets bled $180 billion in 3 days. German car exports slowed to a trickle, and stock indexes plummeted. Asia reeled too. South Korea faced a sudden 25% tariff, threatening half of Hyundai and Kia's U.S. exports. The Bank of Korea forecast steep job and revenue losses.